Why did Kirby Smart hire Will Muschamp? Some of you may not even know this has happened, but yes, indeed, Will Muschamp is a new senior analyst. I'm looking at his exact title right here. He's a senior analyst now for the University of Georgia. So he's making 300 grand a year, which is great. You and I could live on that, right? But not only is he making 300 grand a year, the reason Muschamp was able to take this job is because there is no mitigation clause in his contract and buyout from South Carolina, which means essentially someone was dumb enough to give Will Muschamp a contract wherein if you fired him, you were going to have to pay him millions of dollars, and if he went and got a new job, you still had to pay him his full buyout. So Will Muschamp, yeah, he's making 300 grand on top of the millions per year that South Carolina has to pay him. So that's a nice gig if you can get it. If you're in the typing pool, see if you can get a buyout where there is no mitigation and you can go type for someone else and you still get full buyout money from wherever the law firm was that you used to work at. But I'm not here to talk about Will Muschamp's finances. What I'm here to talk about is, surprisingly, I've gotten a lot of feedback about this. It never occurred to me to talk about this. Analysts get hired all over the place every year. Nick Saban hires an army of them. Every year, Ryan Day just hired a couple of them. I'm going to talk about it later in the show. Kirby Smart saw a former head coach, old buddy of his too, and he said, I'll hire you. Come over here, be an analyst for 300 grand. What's your role going to be? I don't know. We won't even specify it. Just come over here. And I can't even begin to tell you how many people have flooded the DMs saying, this is stupid. Kirby Smart's insane. Why would he hire Will Muschamp? Why not? Why in the world would you not? Mind you, he's not hiring him as co-head coach or anything like that. He didn't say, come here, Will, take my job. I'm going to go chill for a year down in Bainbridge. It's not what he did. He brought him in, and I want to specify this, Colin, let me know if I talk too fast, as a senior analyst. And no head, no coach, senior analyst. What does that mean? Could mean a lot of things, but I want you to follow this logic. If you think this was a dumb move, let's follow this logic. So Will Muschamp was one of the premier defensive minds in college football for years and years and years, coached among some of the best, coached some of the best defenses in America, and he was so good at that the University of Florida saw fit to give him a head coaching job. He ultimately failed there. He comes back to the defensive coordinator level, reasserts himself as, again, one of the best defensive minds in college football. So much so that South Carolina said, we're going to give you another crack at being a head coach. He fails again as a head coach. Kirby Smart hires him to be a senior analyst. Some of you tell me this is a terrible idea. I ask, why is it a terrible idea? You tell me, because he's a failure. I ask, in what role has he failed? You say, head coach. I ask, what role has he been hired for at Georgia? You say, I don't know, an analyst or something like that. And then I sit there in silence and I wait for you to put two and two together. And some of you who have been arguing with me on this, you just look at me and go, see what I mean? I don't see what you mean at all. I want to stack as many former head coaches on my roster as humanly possible. I don't know how many times you have to watch Nick Saban do this every offseason to realize this is not only a proper practice, it's a very wise practice. Here's the reality. There are dozens of men in this sport who are head coaches who are ill-equipped for it. So I'll say it like this. There are dozens of guys who are ill-equipped to lead programs who are extremely valuable pieces of a program. Will Muschamp, as it turns out, was sort of ill-equipped to lead South Carolina long-term and get them where they wanted to. But he's a perfect and valuable addition if you put him in the right spot. And so here's what I had. Most of the time when I've had these correspondence with you, you've come back at me and we've hashed it out and either agree to disagree or you've seen it my way. This is not one I'm willing to budge on. I just know I'm right. Sometimes you just know you're right. I'm not budging on this one. It's good. It's a very good thing when you can bring former head coaches in, former high-level defensive coordinators in, and give them an analyst position and have them there for $300,000 a year, which is essentially an office supply budget for the University of Georgia. But you may look around and you may say, you know, some of you get it. But if you don't get this, I've had some of you ask me, well, what are you bringing in Will Muschamp to do? What value? What value is Will Muschamp going to have for Georgia? Just off the top of my head, I look around and I think about having another set of eyes on my defensive backs or my linebackers. I think about the added benefit of having him involved in recruiting evaluations. Quality control is a whole nother aspect that when you've been a head coach, you've had to oversee every facet of. So you get another set of eyes on your quality control. You get more feedback on how to deal with donors, how to deal with your own administration, how to deal with league administrators and the NCAA, which a head coach has to do and an offensive coordinator has never had to worry about. You get the added benefit of having a former head coach there for self-scouting purposes. Not only is he another set of eyeballs that can help install new drills, new looks, new approaches in practice, he can help you coach your coaches. He's had to do it before. It's not just players that have to be coached. Coaches have to be coached. You got another set of eyes that is former head coach in the house. He can help you do that. Staff evaluations in general. I would argue scheme input. Will Muschamp can be very valuable on. And you get to use him during the season for advanced scouting purposes. So you ask me, what benefit can a failed head coach have for Kirby Smart? I don't know. I just named like 17 just off the top of my head. I've never ran a program a day in my life. I say that to say this. If it's easy enough for me to figure out, it should be easy enough for anyone to figure out. So that, in a nutshell, is why I think it's a proper hire and a wise hire to bring Will Muschamp in for Kirby Smart or anyone else who could have gotten him.